Hello traders, John at StockBookie.com. Today we're looking at the SPY, the IWM, the Qs, the DIA, the IYT, the USO, the UUP, and the GLD. We follow the daily, weekly, monthly timeframes. We use technical analysis here at StockBookie.com. Go to our website, sign up for more videos like this, live streaming action, email alerts, trade ideas, and a little bit of education coming down the road. So let's get right into the daily SPY. Again, you know what? Let's pull up the 10-minute real quick here. So some nice action, let me tell you today. Someone's coming in here and distributing, in my belief. We're in this channel now on an intraday basis. This is going to be more day trading stuff, guys. So we could possibly come up into this area again. We'll see how it reacts. News is driving these markets, so it's really hard to say what's going on. This was, oh, they're not going to get a deal. They're going to vote. Oh my gosh, holy cow. Ah! They scrapped the deal. Whoop! All the algos take over, and pop goes the weasel right back up. It's pretty amazing, but I do give them the benefit of the doubt because we were in the double bottom. We have a big trend line. Go back to the daily. We even kissed the 50 MA on the daily. So, again, nice downward action. We've been saying since this bar, we're going to watch for consolidation, maybe a retrace up, and then possibly the next leg down. If that does happen and we start falling, we have a couple gaps down here to fill, but ultimately I think we're going to be down here around 220, and then we'll see how this reacts when it fills the gap down here to around 219.56. So this is going to be a pretty good area for a bounce. We'll see how it comes into it. If it does, if you're bullish, it needs to get above the 20 MA, needs to get above this big breakdown bar because this is where it was sold off. So a lot of people who got stuck up here might be selling as this thing goes up just to say, you know what, done with this thing, I'm at break even. But if it gets above there, you have a gap to fill, all-time high at 240.32, couple trend lines, but if it gets through there, I still have 242.39, and if it gets a little higher, 252.14, 250 area in that general vicinity. So right now, waiting on pattern, nothing to do. We talked about it going sideways. So far, we have 3 days. Let's look for another week, maybe 2 weeks, let it retrace up a little bit this. Maybe they sit around now because people bought puts down here. You know how it works. It goes down, people buy puts. They, let it sit for 5 months, and then we go from there. But right now, waiting on pattern. And as you can see, if we go through the charts, everything looks the same right now. So if these patterns start playing out, it's going to get a little bit nasty. Same thing with the IWM, down, sideways. Wait for pattern. Bullish, you need to get it back above the 20 MA, big breakdown bar, go for the 140.72 area. If it gets through there, then maybe 145, maybe 150. We'll have to see how it goes once it gets there and gets through this area. Big stuff up there. And then we even have this trend line now too. So we have a lot of resistance, a lot of support. Could go either way at this time, but we'll keep that in there too. We have a short-term Fibonacci. You know what? I'm going to take this out. What's this one? IWM. Gosh. I'm going to put this one here for now, a little more short term. Put it up on there. So yeah, look at that, 750. Boom, we're back. Okay, so let's keep an eye on this one here. We're going to go a little bit bigger on the fib now since we came to those lows. So it did come into 750, retrace back up, 50% retrace, inside bar. Let's wait for pattern, see what happens. Weekly chart, pretty much the same thing. Came right down though, but we are back below the 20 MA on a closing basis. So let's see if this thing pops above it for next week, or do we drop, close below. We're looking for a close below this blue line around the 132.83. So that's what we're looking for here. If we close down in this area, then we're probably going to fill the gap around 130, 131 area. We'll see if it goes a double bottom actually at around 130 even number. Again, we're waiting on pattern on the dailies until we get something going on. That's what we're going to follow right here. So we'll follow the daily, see if we come back up here and then the next leg down. Again, news is coming up on the markets with this the healthcare deal or whatever. So I guess they kiboshed it today. So the markets rejoiced, or Janet Yellen rejoiced. I don't know. Qs. Same thing, down, inside bar. If it gets above this moving average, above the all-time high, then possibly up prices, 135 area. If it does consolidate, we'll wait for the pattern to complete. Maybe we retrace to the top here and then we come down. If we do, then you look at areas like the 128. You have some trend lines. You do have a couple gaps down here. This one's a little bit more difficult. We'll have to see when the time comes of how this thing sets up or how it falls down into price. This is one that's kind of been going up and kind of the strong horse out of all the indexes, but I want to see this thing if it comes in and then retraces and then drops. But got to get above the 132.43 and continue for a bull. Bearish, we're waiting for pattern or just waiting for it to come back in. So again, right now it could go either way. So we're waiting on pattern on the daily chart. On the weekly chart, still fine. A little extended from the moving averages. That's why I'm saying we can, come down a little bit. When it's all said and done, maybe 125. Looking at the weekly chart, but still have to get through the trend line. Still a lot to get through here. We got a lot of support on these charts. A little bit of resistance, so we'll see how it reacts if it does start coming down. One day at a time, guys. The DIA. DIA on the weekly, we're going to start with the weekly. This one was a little bit weaker. We did come down through the 382 retrace. We did fill the gap, and we closed right below the gap. So, this one's talking to us a little bit. Not, it is the Dow. I don't really take it to heart too much, but it is the Dow. So, but yeah, so a little bit weak. Nice pullback on the weekly. The daily chart. Again, sideways pattern, just like the other ones. This one's a little weaker too, though. I'd still like it to retrace, have the 20 MA curl down, and then try to fight with it and then send it down. But at this point, we're short the market, so I'm wanting a little bit lower prices, and then we'll be covering stuff, and we'll be looking for areas to go long. I'm still thinking this index goes to 190. He's got some gaps to fill. You got a big area around 200 where you could probably get a short-term bounce and then the next leg down, but we'll keep an eye on this thing. Still waiting for patterns, still developing, unless the markets either go up with the news, the healthcare thing, or they go down. But we'll slowly just keep an eye on this stuff. Every day gives us a new piece of the puzzle. So, and then let's go to the IYT. And volume is pretty light still. I mean, it was 112 million on the SPY, not that bad, but still want to see more. I want to see 150, 200 million and see how these markets react. But the IYT again, guys, just weak. We cracked this level. This was a big level. Look, I mean, it came right into this thing, filled the gap, bounced up, and everyone's like, whew, thank God, and then rolled right back over, right to this low pivot here. That's holding on for dear life. We still have some gaps down here to fill, but ultimately, just like all the other ones, the 200 MA is going to be one of the targets, and that's at 152. So if this thing does, if it retraces back up here, guys, if you guys aren't short this thing around 167. Maybe a little bit high, maybe 170. I would have to do more short-term work, but right now it's a little bit weak. Let's see if it's setting up for lower prices. You go to the weekly, same thing. I mean, look at that. Wow. So you get 3 big red bars from a high pivot. God, I would maybe a short-term bounce, but I'm thinking 150 when it's all said and done. 155, 150, another 10 on this one. With no problem. And if it really starts to rumble, you're going to the 200 MA right at 142. So that's a nice little trend line. It's starting to break down. Let's see if we get the retrace back into it, and then maybe the next leg down. So be aware of that one. Let's look at the USO. USO, same thing. Nothing's changed other than we still came out of this channel down, sideways, bearish action. Broke down. This pretty much told me you get an outside bar like that, especially big red. You get a little bit of a bounce. We did go into the double bottom and the gap fill here, so you get a little bit of a bounce, and then right back down, came up, retrace, shallow retrace, and right back down. This thing's setting up, I believe, for lower prices. And if it doesn't right now, then you're probably looking for a retrace, maybe in the gap fill. Moving averages, possibly up here if it overshoots, But again, I don't think Yellen needs higher gas prices, so they're going to try to keep this thing as low as possible while these markets are shaking up and down. Possibly. We'll have to see what happens come the vote or whatever they're doing. It's almost like a soap opera, guys. The CNBC soap opera. What are they going to do? Is the market's going to sell? Remember, they were telling everyone bullish on oil here, bullish on oil here. We were telling everyone short oil here, short oil here. I mean, and even back here too. I think they did it right here too. Short oil here, and then we shorted oil here too. Yeah, retrace short, retrace short, retrace short. This was a nice big channel. We broke that. Look at that big trend line that we broke, and it's slowly bleeding. I think we're going back down to 767, guys, when it's all said and done. But we'll see. And right here, I'll be a buyer of oil. So, and that's maybe that takes us, 6 months out, maybe a year out, but I still think we're down here at some point. So that's the USO. Weekly chart, pretty much the same thing. We'll go through that next week, but right now we're just waiting for pattern on this one. Actually, you know what? Let's go. I have a little bit of time on this. This one's just, it's not really telling us too much. Oh well. Yeah, but right now, I mean, the one thing it's telling us is that it's a little bit weak. Same thing. Look at that, straight up. Look at that gap fill right here. This is the first time we started shorting it. Came right back in, retrace, shorted again. And we could have caught these bounces. This one's, I'd rather go up into a good area and then short it, and then wait for it to come down here to go long. That's how I would play this thing. So you get some short-term bounces here if it does start to really rattle, its cages. So just like here, they're going to take everyone's money, put them in margin calls, and that's when it's going to go down here. I still think it's going to 650 personally, but we'll see if that happens. I hope it doesn't, but because if it does, I think we'll be in really bad shape. The UUP is still coming in. We had a nice retrace here. This is the weekly retrace back into this area. Boom, right back down. Let's see, double bottom. Still got to fill the gap down here. We have the 50 MA right around 25 bucks, but I do like this trend line here. Maybe start nibbling around 25. If I really, the central bankers, they could send this thing straight down. Big institutions, I would have to say definitely here a buyer, 24 bucks. I'll have to see how it comes into these levels here to see if we can step up around the 25. So for a long, that is. Right now, it's a little bit weak, but we'll see if it holds that up and fills that gap and pops up. The gap I'm showing you is on the daily right here. It's at 25.59, so that's the spot. But we're consolidating in a bearish manner, kind of like the market. So let's see if the markets go down and oil goes up or the dollar goes up, and then if we get the correlation there. But at this point, we'll see. A couple days of this, we're just, kind of chopping around. So keep an eye on the dollar. Let's see if we go sideways into next week and then down, or do we go sideways and this bearish pattern breaks up, fails, and we start ripping up and going higher. I think that will take the markets down, in my opinion. But, one day at a time, like I always say. Weekly chart, same thing, looking a little bit weak on the UUP. Let's get to the GLD. So the GLD right back into the resistance on the weekly chart, the 200 MA. You have this trend line here around 118.79. It's just pretty much at the bottoms here. Nothing significant, but still some, as it was resistance here, support. Now it's back to resistance, and now you have consolidation. So it's even bigger. So let's see, since we had kind of a shallow retrace, let's see if it does pop through. Main thing for the weekly, we need to get above the 50 MA and the 120 area if you're bullish. If you're bearish, if this thing gets rejected, then you're looking at support right back here around 114.32. And, at that point, if we start going down, I'd start looking possibly 109, then double bottom. If it cracks, then, we're always talking about the 105, 101.49. That's double bottom. And there's a couple other areas back there. But right now, nothing wrong with gold if you look at the daily. We got back above the moving average. It's what we always preach. If you want to be bullish, so we got back above those. Still not above the 200, but let's see if we consolidate for a couple more days and then pop up into this area. You still have a trend line around 122, but at the end of the day, I still think we're going to, I think this part here, 125, this big breakdown area, that's going to be huge resistance, and as well as the 125 even number gap fill as well. So if it gets up into there, I'll probably just take the whole position off. If not, maybe 3/4 and let, a quarter position possibly to run to 132. We'll see. If this thing starts to break down, your key areas for gold, if you're short, this guy's going to be a pretty good support level. You have the Fibonacci's coming in. You have a gap fill down here around 110.45. So I was saying it's not going to go straight down, but if it starts setting up to go for lower prices, we can easily come down right back here to 106 again. But right now, again, nothing wrong. But if you look at this a little bit, you can almost make that a little head and shoulder there. And if that comes back in, boom, we're going about 102. But again, nothing there yet. Yeah, if you look at that little head and shoulder. So we'll keep an eye on it, see if we come back in or we do, consolidate for the next leg up. Again, it's gold. You know what? A lot of people will get into that for safety, and we'll have to take it, each and every day as they give us. Who knows? All right, guys, I think that's it for today. Thanks again for watching. Go to my StockBookie.com site, sign up for the free membership, and for videos like this if you really enjoy them. Thanks again, everyone, for watching. God bless. See you on the charts.